Growing up in and around Seminary, countless children have cut their teeth on stories of mystical myths and legends. The settings of these stories vary from eerie roads of the countryside to the foreboding forests that surround every creek and river in the area. The stories themselves consist of strange creatures and haunting specters. Ghost headlights. The long straight road that is Old 49 is friendly and inviting during the day, but at night it quickly turns into a long, lonesome drive that can't end soon enough. Travelers are often alone when traversing the bridge at night, so when a fellow traveler either meets them on the road or begins following them in the distance, many are relieved to have someone else on the road with them. But what happens when the pair of headlights in the distance turns out to be far more menacing than they appear? Many have told stories of seeing a car in the distance on Old 49, but when they finally get within close range, the headlights slowly begin to dim out of existence. A citizen of Seminary who wishes to remain anonymous shared this story with our reporters. When I was about your age, I was heading somewhere. I can't remember where now on Old 49. I was by myself in the car and saw some headlights far off in the distance. I have, of course, dimmed my headlights so I don't blind the other driver. They're about 50 feet away when I see the headlights slowly blink out of existence. That's the best way I can describe it, like an eye slowly beginning to close. Seeing their headlights go out, I put mine on bright to help them out because I thought something was wrong. When I put them on bright, there wasn't a car in sight. I was completely alone on the old road. It really shook me up for a while. Others have given accounts of actually encountering the ghostly lights in the woods surrounding the road. One person recalls, I was walking through the woods when I saw headlights coming in my direction. I wouldn't have thought anything of it, but the woods were way too thick for any vehicle to traverse through. And I was very, very deep in the woods, deep enough where I wouldn't be able to see any headlights from the road. I really knew something was amiss when the headlights suddenly disappeared. If you're looking for a thrill, just take a long drive on the Old 49 at night. You may get lucky and see the spectral lights, even if you're not lucky enough to witness any of the spooky sights. The drive alone will be sure to give you chills and a feeling of paranoia.
Booger Bridge. On the long narrow road of Old 49, there is a bridge that was constructed early in the 1800s to help folks cross Curry Creek, a tributary of the Okatoma. There have been many accounts of strange happenings at Booger Bridge, from sightings of strange ape-like creatures to visions of ghostly specters. The bridge is home of many legends. Curry Creek itself, particularly the section that runs under Booger Bridge, is the setting for many of the ghost stories we researched. One such story is that of Folks Bay. It is said that when a folk woman died many, many years ago, no one can agree as to the exact time, she had her family bury her on the banks of Curry Creek along with her money and other treasures, both of which are substantial according to the stories. Of course, upon hearing about the buried treasure, people became obsessed with finding the burial site of the woman. But the location was kept secret by her family. Undeterred, many of the obsessed treasure hunters went about looking all over the river. As the legend goes, if anyone begins to dig in or around the river, invisible fiddles will begin to play. Legend says that the ghost of the folk woman herself is the fiddler who is heard when the men begin digging up what could have potentially been her grave and the location of her treasure.
Creepy Crypto. For many of the citizens of Seminary, Highway 590 is the road most commonly used to reach their destination. While many have never seen more than the occasional deer cross the road, others tell of seeing tall, ape-like creatures along the highway and in the surrounding woods. Wolf Pen Hill is the main source of the sightings in these strange creatures. Here's an account of a sighting told by a local citizen. When we were younger, there wasn't much we could do besides go to Seminary and hang out in our cars and shoot the bull. One Saturday night, we were all in Seminary when our friend turns up white as a bedsheet. We asked him what had happened, and he said, I was going down 590 when I started to come up on the tiny bridge that passes over Curry Creek. I noticed at the far end of the bridge there was what looked to be like a really big dog crouched over another smaller dog, just eating away at it. When my headlights hit the thing, it rose up on two legs and stood to be well over the height of my truck. It was hairy, and especially tall, and huge. The thing actually looked at me as I passed it, staring at me through my windshield. I've known that fellow all my life, and I've never seen him that scared or shaken up over anything. The creek that runs under Booger Bridge is known as Curry Creek, and for centuries has been well known as haunted ground. The story started by the Native Americans, whose stories told of a tall, hairy, man-like creature that lived under the creek. This creature would follow them about, especially while they were hunting, but would leave them alone if the hunter would drop a fresh kill, for instance, like a squirrel or a rabbit. One day, much later on, in the 1940s, a little girl decided to walk to school alone. The trek led her down Old 49 and over the bridge. She never made it to school that day, nor did she make it home. When no one had seen or heard from the little girl by that evening, a search party began to look for her. About 100 yards north of the creek, back in the woods, was an old abandoned house site. Out of desperation, the search party decided to investigate. What they saw was a horror. Breaking down the door, they saw the back of a hairy being with long reddish-brown hair. This creature was much taller than a man. Instead of turning around to face the men, it rotated its head 180 degrees, like an owl would. The men, thankfully, were armed. They shot and killed the beast. Then they began to search the abandoned house. They discovered fresh bloodstains all about, and when they were looking over the beast, discovered a piece of the little girl's dress stuck between its teeth.
Booger Bridge. Booger Bridge is the location of this next chilling legend. The people involved still aren't quite sure of what actually happened or what caused it, but they all agree that they will never repeat their mistakes. Here's a first-hand account. We would take our cars down into the median to talk and listen to some music. We had always heard that strange things happened at the bridge, but we didn't pay much attention to the stories until we started noticing things ourselves. We would hear what sounded like something walking through the creek and hear huge branches snap and break for no reason. Despite the noises, we never saw anything. We could see where things had definitely been tampered with, but we never saw the source. Then, one night, being the bright teenagers we were, we decided to try and shoot whatever the thing was. We went down in the creek and started hearing the noises coming from the creek. One of my friends started shooting away at the creek. When he finally stopped shooting and everything was quiet, we heard the worst scream imaginable coming from right behind us. I don't even know how to explain what the scream sounded like. It was like 3 or 4 different voices were screaming all at once. Naturally, we hauled-tailed and left. I wouldn't go back to the bridge during the day for a year, and to this day, I refuse to go back to it at night. It isn't clear what the group experienced, but what is clear is the fact that there is obviously something very strange about the bridge and the surrounding woods. If it sounds like Seminary is a scary place to live, we wouldn't want to mislead you. While stories abound about strange creatures and disappearing headlights, and in truth, some of our classmates have experienced disappearing headlights themselves, our town is warm and loving and a great place to grow up. We do love a good yarn, and we do know how to stay away from certain places after dark. After all, when the sun goes down, these stories, if you will, are all too likely to come true to the unexpected traveler down Old 49.